I'm Jake.
I'm Stephanie.
And you're listening to The Fly Angle, the official RDU Airport podcast. Welcome back to The Fly Angle. It is our first episode of 2022, and we have a special guest for you today. We don't have Mary in this episode, but we do have Stephanie Hawco from Team RDU. Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is nice to have you here finally on the pod. Stephanie is part of the communications team here at RDU, of which Mary and I are also members. Just a little bit about her. I thought maybe to start it off and get you familiarized with her. Stephanie, tell us about what you do at the Authority. What do you do at the communications team?
I'm the Director of Media Relations here at the Airport Authority. So like you and Mary, I help tell the story of the airport, but specifically I also help reporters tell the story about the airport. So I spend a lot of time interacting with them and answering their questions and helping them get information for all the articles they write about us.
So when we're watching the 6 o'clock news, that's usually you.
That's usually me standing in the terminal in front of the all gate sign doing the interview. Yes.
Well, thank you for that. And I think you yourself have a TV background, right?
I do, actually. It's fun for me to interact with reporters because I was one for a long time. My background, my first career was in broadcasting, in radio and TV, and most recently worked at WREL here in Raleigh for about 6 years and also at WPTF Radio. So I still have a lot of former colleagues who are in the business today and a lot of newer reporters that I get to work with on a regular basis too.
Here's a question I always love to ask. What's your favorite place to fly?
My favorite place to fly, wow. You know, I'm somebody who doesn't like to visit the same place twice. I love to have a new adventure every time I travel.
Sure.
I go to Florida a lot because that's where I'm from. Still have a lot of family there, so I was just there for the holidays. But I love to try something new all the time. So I've got a couple of things up my sleeve this year. I'm going to go to Canada. I'm going to go to Mexico, so I'm covering the continent.
The whole North America.
That's right, all of North
Where in
America.
Canada are you going?
I'll just be in Vancouver for a short time, and then I'm looking at Tulum in Mexico for the fall. So nice little beach trip, nothing too strenuous, kind of sit on the beach if I want to and do a little exploring if I want to.
Adding a couple stamps to the passport.
That's right.
I love it. Well, let's dive right into headlines. What do you think?
Well, RDU has made a big, exciting announcement right before the holidays. We have a new international flight that we announced last month. Iceland Air is launching its debut service to Reykjavik, Iceland. That's a tourist destination, but it's also a midway point between North America and Europe, which is really exciting because you can take a vacation in Iceland. You can also get to Scandinavia, to the UK, and to continental Europe very easily from that location as well.
That's really exciting. Oh my gosh. That flight has been the talk of the airport since it was announced last month. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. It's seasonal service. It'll begin on May 12th, and we're looking at 4 times a week on a 160-seat Boeing MAX 8, which is also getting some excitement. And, normally you see larger aircraft with those flights, but because it's going to Iceland, it's able to use a MAX 8. And so really an interesting all around from the service itself to the aircraft. This is going to restore important transatlantic connectivity, right?
That's right. We have been looking at getting our international service back. We were able to restore that after the pandemic last year.
Right.
And we have been really looking to expand that going forward as well. So this is an exciting announcement for us. We'll be restoring that connectivity, and we continue to see that pent-up demand for travel, and we think including travel to Europe, which we think could be big this year. So go to Iceland, hop over to Europe, and take a nice long vacation.
Those stopovers are pretty innovative. I'm thinking about doing it. So.
Well, I'm thinking about doing it too. I'm from Florida. My dad still lives there. I've got a lot of family there still. My dad wants to go to Iceland, so he is probably going to want to go at the height of summer. Likes the warmer weather, but we think it would be a great adventure. So we're looking at maybe next year.
Yeah, what better time? All right, find out more at rdu.com/IcelandAir, and tickets are on sale now.
And going well from what we hear.
That's right.
A lot of people are interested. So the holiday saw some of our highest passenger figures since the pandemic started. Nearly 500,000 travelers visited the airport between December 18th and January 2nd. Almost 250,000 passengers flew through RDU during Thanksgiving week. And we knew it was going to be a busy holiday season, but that exceeded even our own projections by about 4%.
Wow. So for those listening at home, holiday travel is always busy, as you can imagine. But with COVID variants on the rise, Omicron being the most recent, we were curious to see how that would go. We think that one reason for the numbers being so high might be the continued surge of leisure flyers. If you've been listening to the podcast over the past year or reading about airport news just in general, you know that leisure flyers have been driving the recovery so far. with business travelers slower to recover. But we're calling 2022 the year of the business traveler.
We hope so. We've definitely seen leisure travel lead the recovery over the last year or two. And we had about a 50-50 mix of business and leisure travel here at RDU prior to the pandemic. And now it's more about 2/3 leisure. So we saw a lot of that, of course, over the holidays as people got out to visit family and friends and even take vacations, some of them for the first time in a while. And I'll tell you, it was great to be in the terminals over the holidays. I know you were over there as well, and it was busy, and people were excited, and they were going out to visit family and take trips, and it was just a great place to be for the first time in a little while.
And I think we're getting our official numbers later this month here in January. But Stephanie, do you have any idea yet of how many passengers we'll have had at RDU in 2021?
We are projecting about 8.8 million guests last year, and that's up 80% from 2020. So really a big, robust recovery has been underway at the airport, and we are certainly very happy to see that.
That's like a slingshot effect, like a parabola.
A big change. That's right. Still not where we were in 2019, but we're working at it.
Coming back.
That's right. We're coming back. And finally, airport guests who park in the economy lots have something new to celebrate. RDU recently launched a bus tracking app to monitor how close your next shuttle bus is. It's called the Transloc app, and you can find it in the App Store, Google Play, or wherever else you find your apps.
So this is part of that ongoing tech trend that's happening at RDU. It's happening at other airports too, but we like to think that we're ahead of the curve.
We are ahead of the curve here.
So it's all about convenience. It's all about contactless and smooth travel. So this app, if you haven't downloaded it, this is the perfect time. Grab your mobile device and download it right now. It's called Transloc. We've never had a way to real-time track shuttle wait times until now. And specifically, when we're talking about shuttles, we're talking about the Park RDU buses that go to Economy 3.
That's right.
Eventually, it'll be to Economy 4 once that lot reopens, but right now it's just Economy 3. But those guests, which is, if you've ever parked in Economy 3, it's our largest remote lot, now can easily find out how close that next bus is with just a couple of taps on their device. I'm actually looking forward to, I'm flying out tomorrow after this recording, and I'm going to try it out for the first time. So we're looking forward to seeing how it goes.
I downloaded it right before the holidays and got on in the terminals, and you can see the buses moving, and you can see the ETA and how many minutes away they are. So yeah, it's a great new feature that we're using, and it's all about touchless technology that we've been focusing on and making the travel experience easier and more smooth for people.
So Stephanie, one of the segments that we love to do on the podcast is called Airmail. Each episode, we try to take a question from a listener about various aspects of what's happening at the airport. We always love to hear from our listeners and get new airmail questions. Make sure you send them to communications@rdu.com, and we'll answer your question hopefully on an upcoming episode. Today, we're hearing from our friend Joe L. That's Joe L, not Joe L.
That's right.
Since RDU is growing at such a rapid pace and now almost getting back to pre-pandemic numbers, are there any international airlines besides Iceland Air or new international destinations besides Reykjavik that RDU has its eye on right now?
I get this question a lot, actually, from reporters. People
believe
always want to know what our next international destination is. One thing that people may not know is that these are really long lead times. We talked to Iceland Air for almost 4 years before that flight became a reality.
So for listeners who aren't regular RDU flyers or maybe don't live in the market, prior to the pandemic, RDU hosted several international flights, including 2 transatlantics. The first is American Airlines to London. That flight has a long history out of Raleigh-Durham. The other one is Delta to CDG Paris. Mm-hmm. That flight started, I think it was 2016. Both of them were dailies. They were wildly popular, and you would see plane spotters lining the airport grounds to see the aircraft when it came in or took off every day. Since the pandemic, we've restored some of our international service, such as Toronto and Cancun. We're looking forward to restoring others. Mobay and Jamaica would be a good example of something that we want to make sure gets back on the calendar. Mm-hmm. And so you might have heard us talk on this podcast as well. We talked about a concept called passengers per day each way. This is the silver bullet data point that airlines use to inform their network planning. They can use that to understand just how much interest there is going to a market, right?
That's right.
So our own main goal right now is just restoring those 2 popular transatlantic routes to London and Paris. There is one externality with that. Ongoing COVID variant concerns, those things could have impacts on travel restrictions, potentially changing or becoming more strict, right?
We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that, especially, as it pertains to international travel. Of course, no domestic travel restrictions, but we definitely want to be kept apprised. And you can always visit our website, of course, if you want information about that as well. But we are looking forward to getting some of those international flights back. Paris and London, of course, are very popular. We get a lot of questions about when those are going to return. And personally, I'll be looking forward to that nonstop to Cancun that's in my future later this year. I'll be taking advantage of that.
And so, Stephanie, I think you probably could tell us about this. I think Iceland Air was the first airline to take advantage of RDU's new air service incentive program.
It sure was. It was the first new international flight under our new recruiting program. We offer incentives for new international destinations, and people often wonder how we choose what destinations we come up with. And as you mentioned, we get a lot of data about where people are going, where they're connecting, where they go after they connect to RDU, if this is a connection for them. And so we have a good idea of where our passengers want to go, and we're always trying to match the right routes with the right airlines and make sure that we're getting people to all the places they most want to visit and do business in.
And so airline network planners will be watching Iceland Air very closely, whether it's one of our legacy carriers or one of the upstart airlines that have really kind of been flourishing in the last couple of years. RDU, we're really optimistic about what's in store for 2022, right?
Absolutely. Well, we added 2 airlines last year. We had an 11th and a 12th airline join us with Sun Country and Iceland Air. So exciting times, and routes are coming back, and lots of nonstop destinations are returning, and we want people to come here and take advantage of them. Of course, we always like to take you behind the scenes here at RDU, each episode of The Flyingle, and introduce you to somebody who helps make the airport tick. And one of those people is Steele Myers. He's the chief of our RDU Airport Police Department. He's been here a dozen years, and he agreed to come talk to us today. Chief, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you all for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about our police department and the airport.
You have a varied background in law enforcement. You've done a lot of interesting things. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did before you got to RDU and how you came to be here?
Sure. I started out with the Kernersville Police Department right out of college and spent 1 year there. I took a job with the SBI in 1983, and I spent 28 and a half years there doing criminal investigations, drug investigations, and I ended up my career with the SBI as director of our fusion center, NC Isaac, where we worked with the local, state, and federal agencies to assist with Homeland Security investigations. Also part of the SWAT team for 24 years. I came to the airport in 2010 after retiring. Started out as a part-time checkpoint officer, moved up to a shift sergeant, then the major, and I'm here as chief now.
What drew you to RDU Airport? I'm curious.
Well, everybody I talked with liked to work here. It was a part-time job, and I'll be honest with y'all, the most fun I've had here, not that I don't enjoy my job now, but the most fun I had here was working as a checkpoint officer and seeing people I hadn't seen in many years coming through the checkpoint to fly out. So that was quite enjoyable.
You see a lot of new faces every day
You
doing
do.
that job for sure.
You do, and I'll tell you, the best thing I can say, it makes me feel the best, is to take somebody that's been to the airport and see them looking up at that board and looking totally confused, and walking over to them and saying, "Hey, let me help you. Let me look at your ticket." And that you would believe, I mean, especially the elderly folks who, first time flying, second time flying.
Sure.
And that's quite satisfying to me.
I know they appreciate the help.
Oh, I'm sure they do, and our checkpoint officers still do that, which is great.
How is working at an airport different from working in other police departments?
The airport is a unique situation. In my other law enforcement endeavors, we worried about enforcing the law, putting lawbreakers in jail and making people safe all the time. At the airport, we have to realize that the airport's a business, and we want people coming back. And it's not that we're not going to keep them safe and secure,
Right.
but there's different things that we have to do here that we would not normally do in a regular police department. Say, for instance, people piggybacking out of parking. Hey, you forgot to pay. In my other job, we'd have probably went and got a warrant and said, hey, you need to come to court and figure this out.
Right.
But to be honest, some people don't realize it, and to be honest, most of them, don't realize what they're doing, and they go, okay, yeah, sure. So we don't have that many problems here with stuff like that. So that's refreshing to me after chasing drug dealers and murderers for 28 and a half years, it's kind of nice to get, little things and get people to, cooperate and do the things they need to do.
I've always wondered about this. Kind of a follow-up question here. How much, when you talk about how law enforcement at an airport is unique, how much of that comes from there being different jurisdictions that are at a local and a federal level? So, for example, you've got CBP, you've got TSA, you've got RDU Police. How is it navigating some of those overlaps, or is it just something you guys are just used to?
Well, you're right. It is unique in that we have to work with everybody. We are very good partners, close partners with TSA because, after all, they run our checkpoint. Our checkpoint officers work daily with them. That's more of an everyday event, and we help them, they help us. We have their radios, they have our radios, and because of the amount of prohibitive items that come through there, our checkpoint officers and our full-time officers become very close with TSA. CBP is another thing. Our international flights have kind of cut back lately, and when they do start back up, we will be there for them. But for the most part, TSA is our closest federal partner right now. Now we get other jurisdictions to come out here and we help them serve warrants on people who maybe are employed with contract workers here or who are flying in. So, we deal with that aspect of the thing too. And everybody seems to think that the airport is a great place to find people. So we always get these calls about, hey, can you check the parking deck and see if a vehicle's in there or whatever. But they always think that they went to the airport to run away.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, so we get we work closely with a lot of departments, and, we work closely with the TSA and CBP that are here. So I feel good about our relationship with all of them.
So there likely isn't a typical day for an airport police officer, but what would let's say I work at RDU in law enforcement. What does my day look like?
Well, your day will look like roll call. Let's just say you're coming in on the day shift and you're coming in at 6 a.m. Roll call, and then the other lieutenant will tell the oncoming lieutenant exactly what some of the problems they've dealt with at night and some that may linger over. You'll sit there, and usually while you're having roll call and we're going over this, you'll get a door alarm call that somebody's forced through a door or that somebody's put
one of the doors in the terminal.
Yes, yeah, a card up against the thing that is expired, and so usually you won't get all the way through roll call before you answer the door alarms. But in the meantime, we'll probably get somebody that's dropping somebody off or picking somebody up at the terminal, and they've decided the TCOs have tried to get them to move along. They've decided they want to make that a parking space for themselves, so we'll have to go over there and move them along. And in the meantime, somebody will forget, even though they have a concealed carry permit, and they'll forget where their weapon's at, and they'll try to get it through the checkpoint, not intentionally, but they'll just forget where it's at. It's in their carry-on bag or their book bag that they carry all the time, even though they have a CCW.
That's one of those jurisdictional kind of, I hate to call them overlaps, but where you and TSA begin to work together at that
exactly.
point.
And usually the big thing for something like that is that, okay, we will cite them, okay, and they'll still get to fly, but then TSA will review that later on and usually give them a big fine. Mm-hmm. So that's what hurts them more than our citation. So, yeah, in the meantime, we'll probably have a couple wrecks, people bumping into people. Nothing. We have from, every now and then we have a serious wreck, but for the most part, it's just bump ups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your jurisdiction isn't just the immediate roadways around the terminals, but it's the roadways around the airport, right?
Yes, we have on all airport property is our jurisdiction, and if need be, we have a mile jurisdiction outside of our property.
I always tell people working at airports like working in a little city. We have our own police, our own fire. You called it a business too, so it's really a very different environment. What is it that you enjoy that you would tell people who might be interested in working in law enforcement at RDU?
And I mentioned this before. I got into the law enforcement business to make the world a better place and to put bad guys in jail. That's a lot of people, youngsters. That's why they get into it. It's a little tougher nowadays, but I mean that's basically. I always say it's a calling. It isn't something you just go, okay, you know what, I think I'll be a police officer. It's something that, and my dad was a police officer, my brother was a state trooper. And so it's something that was always in my family, and I always kind of knew that that was where I was going because I was interested in that. Mm-hmm. Besides playing baseball, that was my next interest. So to get back to your question, you can look at the police department here and you can go, okay, well, nothing's happening here that's really that bad. Well, you don't see a lot of things behind the scenes. Some things that I probably can't talk to you about because of security reasons, but some things that have happened here that where you go, oh my gosh, we are one step away from something bad happening. And those don't happen very often, but that's why the police department's here, to intercept those things. And we've been very good at that. And we have a bunch of good officers who do their jobs. And we intercept those things that may cause us problems for the time being or down the road. But for you to, the things that I like about here, okay, you know what? We don't chase people with guns every day, and we don't get in fights every day. I'm a little bit old to be doing that. Most of our officers would not want that,
Sure.
Sure. And so, but that's the good part. And the bad part is that guess what? We're responsible for a lot of different people coming through here. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a city, okay, you can kind of go, okay, that street right there, we got to keep an eye on that because, there's maybe some guys riding up and down, breaking in cars or whatever. Here, we have a different population every day.
And millions of people coming through.
Yes. And you look at that over the year. I mean, and so you really don't know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line is that, we have to gauge the customer service thing with, okay, we have to keep the airport safe, mm-hmm. So you want to be nice, but then again, you want to be stern, So, I mean, we can't allow certain things to go on for the security reasons. And, as y'all have seen the comments, once in a while, we'll get a good one. Once in a while, we'll get a bad one. Well, that's the nature of the business. And especially now in policing, that's probably, But, we try to do our job and try to keep everybody safe and get everybody where they want to be and make everybody happy.
So let's say my calling is law enforcement as well, and I'm interested in working in law enforcement at RDU. What do I do next? Where do I go from there?
As of right now, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jake, we are hiring some police officers. We like lateral transfers, which means they're already basic law enforcement trained, and they're transferring from another agency. Or we're back to the point where we've done this one time and we're going to do it again, is we're going to hire young people who are, basically out of college who are interested in law enforcement, and we're going to pay them to go through basic law enforcement training, and then they're going to come to us after that. And so so there's two ways to get in. And as of right now, with our hiring, the Raleigh-Durham Airport Authority they offer a signing bonus. This is something they've just given us. Mr. Langeth has signed off on. 0 to 3 years of experience, you get $1,000. 3 to 5 years experience, $2,500. 5 to 7, $5,000. 7 to 10, $7,500. And over 10 years experience, you get $10,000 as a signing bonus.
Wow.
That's great.
That's great.
It's competitive right now.
It's competitive. We like the young and the old here. And I'll give you an example. I had a young officer. In fact, he was one of the first that we put through BLET. And he left probably about a year ago. Well, not quite a year ago. And he went to the Secret Service. And he come in my office, and he was very upset that he was having to tell me he was leaving. And I told him, I said, please don't be upset. I said, you know what? I wouldn't want you if you didn't want to better yourself. And so we're a starting ground for a lot of people. It's a great place to start. You may get here, and you may find out you love policing at the airport. The pay's good. It's great working here. I've never worked at an organization where I feel like our president CEO cares about everybody who works here. Here, I truly feel that Mr. Langeth cares about all of us, and he tries to make our life better. And as long as the pay, too, I mean, he's seen that we needed to raise the pay with the police officers to get better police officers, to get more application, and he's went along with me for that, which is great.
I have one more question for you, Chief. This
Sure.
is about my soft spot, and that's the Canines.
Oh, okay.
Tell me about those, because they're a big hit in the airport.
They are, and we just got two new ones, and we're getting ready to get another one. So we have a total of 4, and they are bomb explosive detection dogs. We have 4 great handlers, and you have to be special to handle one of those dogs. And All you do, you just got to be around them and see how energetic they are to know that you have to be special to handle them.
Oh, yeah.
They're great dogs, and they're great officers. We may want to add a few more dogs in the near future. We'll see. But we go after the right kind of dog. You see all these, I know TSA has some dogs, and rightfully so, they have that do not pet on there. Mm-hmm. Well, most of ours don't, because we know there's no way. And what we'll do before we choose a dog is we'll get him and we'll walk him through the terminal. You can do whatever you want to try to keep kids away from dogs. Doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. It's like a natural
Exactly.
gravitational pull.
That's right.
Exactly. So you want to see a kid walk up and rub that dog, and that dog sit there and lick him or whatever, So we get dogs that love everybody. But when they're ready to work, they're ready to work, and their handler can pull them put on that leash and go, okay, let's work, and they're ready to go. I'm like you. The dogs are a soft spot with me, and I always tell the handlers, I said, are you taking care of my dog? And then but
The Canines are part of Team RDU
They
just
are,
the same.
absolutely.
They are.
I know Wrigley loves a belly rub.
Oh, all the time. They can't beat that. So.
Chief Steele Myers, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Sure. I thank y'all for asking me to be on the podcast. And if there's anything we can ever do at the police department for anybody coming to RDU, please call us. We're more than welcome to come out and help you. If it's find a lost car in the parking garage, if it's find your way to the gate, let us know. We'll be there.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, another episode in the books. Stephanie, kind of enjoyed having you on the pod. Let's do this again soon.
I had a good time. I appreciate you asking me to do it, filling in for Mary, and it's always interesting to talk to the chief. He has a lot of great RDU stories, and I'm glad our listeners got a chance to get to know him a little as well.
Airport law enforcement is such a fascinating topic, as you just heard, in so many ways that we can talk about on a podcast and ways that we can't.
That's right, ways we can't.
But always great to hear from Chief. What a wonderful guy. And that entire team, if you ever get a chance when you're at Raleigh-Durham next time to say hello to them, they are super friendly and love their jobs, love what they do. So our last parting thought, make sure you submit those airmail questions to us at communications@rdu.com so we can answer your questions in an upcoming episode. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love to hear from you there too. And with that said, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jake.